Hey Laura, thank you for the email. Yes, I'll change your name if you want to unmute yourself so we can be as chat and
Can you hear me?
see something.
Perfect. That's good. At least that works.
Okay, Laura, I renamed you. And Rachel, if you could get for someone's known Laura, if you can give her permissions to change her slide.
Hey, Lara, did you need me to share my screen or is it going to be all through you? Just if I need to have the presentation up, or do you have it?
Right arrow on your computer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. Sorry.
I was saying click, I think you have permission though. Click the right arrow on your computer.
Mm.
You'll have to click inside the presentation. Click the slide and then click the right arrow.
Is that good?
It doesn't seem to be.
Laura B, I think maybe this is related to the shared link or the borrowed link. I don't know if she has full permissions.
Yeah.
Worst case, you can just ask us to advance slide.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that.
That'll work.
And Laura B, I'm only here for part of the meeting because I have a conflict, but I worked on this project with Laura C, so I definitely wanted to see the update.
Yeah.
All right, I think Mike, if you're ready.
I think we are in good shape to get started here. So, good afternoon. This is our fourth quarter Vision Zero Task Force meeting. We've got a full agenda for you, interesting things to give you updates on and new ideas to share. And I'm going to, actually, before we hand off to Laura, just if there are any folks here who are here for your first time, if you want to just kind of briefly say hello, who you are, who you're with. And you may need to unmute yourself to do so.
Well, I'll say hi, Jennifer Stoltz from Osceola County. I don't think I've been to one of these yet recently, so.
Yeah, and I'll introduce myself as well, which I will in the presentation, but quick introduction, Laura Campos, and I am a design project manager here at Osceola County.
I'll go next. I'm Ashley Quinelson. I was the project manager for the city side for our Vision Zero, but I don't think I've been to one of these. I'm with the city of Kissimmee.
Great.
And I am Justin Radke. I am with Orange County Public Schools. I've been to a couple of these. It's been a minute, but I've been around.
Okay. And I'm Yasser Fala. I'm a professor at UCF and basically also involved with some tech companies in Orlando.
I'm John McKay, customer success manager here at Citian. You'll be hearing more from me talking about the Crash platform later today.
Morning, everybody. Good afternoon at this stage. I'm Lieutenant Crescenzi with the Florida Highway Patrol, and I'm the Troop D Public Affairs Officer for the counties here in Central Florida, Orange, Osceola, Volusia, Brevard, Lake, Seminole, and the Florida Turnpike. We're in charge of all media and community outreach.
Good afternoon, Delita Singh. I'm with the Central Florida Expressway Authority, and I am the TSM&O Project Manager.
And hi, my name is John Hambley. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager for the City of Kissimmee.
Hello, my name is Ken Stoy. I am the Communication Specialist with the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
Hi, I'm Charles Episantuano. I'm a Senior Planner with Lynx, just filling in for Miles today.
Hello, I'm Patrick Panza. I'm the Operations Director at Bike Walk Central Florida.
I'm Jason Sartorio, Transportation Planner with the City of Winter Park.
Welcome back, Jason.
Thank you, Mike.
Good
All right,
afternoon, my name is Martin Butcher. I'm Special Projects Manager for City of Castleberry. My apologies, I'm having issues with my camera, so I tried to turn it on, but it's not turning on.
I'm Adriana Rodriguez, Senior Transportation Engineer, Metroplan Orlando.
Yeah, Cedric Moffitt here, Principal Planner, Orange County Parks and Recreation.
Tony Nelson, Assistant Director of Transportation and Transit, Osceola County.
Good afternoon, everybody. Daniel Balone here, GIS Administrator with the City of Winter Garden.
And I'm Tanya Elliott Moore, Assistant Town Manager of the Town of Windermere.
We seem to be slowing down. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Welcome to all the new faces. And those that of you who are returning sometime in new roles. Good to see everybody. And first up on the agenda, so I guess we'll go ahead and get us started. Sure, my slide control is working. It is. All right, so we're going to get kicked off this afternoon with some updates. It's been a few months since we were last able to convene. Starting off with an update on our second Safe Streets Earth for All grant that we were notified of award last November. My update, unfortunately, at this point is that we still don't have an update, really. We submitted our grant agreements to FHWA back in August, I believe, and we are continuing to await comments or approval from them. Now that the government has reopened, we are very hopeful that we will be hearing word from them soon. And once we do, we'll see if we can do any follow we know. Just as a reminder for those who this is their first meeting, it's been a while with that grant, the activities that we plan to undertake under the grant include some additional outreach activities and educational activities related to some of the key groups that we're seeing higher flash trends in our region. We'll be doing some additional data analysis and refinement with those funds, and then the bulk of the funding is going to be going towards doing a number of road safety audits on the high injury network area. And that said, update on our road safety audit program. Thanks so much to all of you who did submit your requests for RSAs by the, I think it was September 30th deadline. We ended up getting 26 requests from 10 of our local partners. And internally, we've done sort of a preliminary analysis, assuming we're not going to be able to complete all 26 of those. So we go through as many as we can. And we have a list of preliminary ones that we're going to be starting off with. We'll sort of get through these and see what funding is available beyond that, and we'll move on to others on the list. But the jurisdictions that had RSAs that we think we're definitely going to be able to fund include Castleberry, Maitland, Orange County, Orlando, Seminole County, and Winter Park, just in alphabetical order at this point. So some of you have heard from me already with questions that we had about your requests. Those who haven't, that are on this list shown here, so planning to do an RSA, we should have the questions for you yet. We will be getting scopes, the various types of scopes out, so you can start to review those and think about what type of RSA you might want to do in the week or two after we get back from Thanksgiving break. So please look out for those. And then we are in coordination with FDOT right now, in particular for those of you who may request on the state system. So after we have that initial meeting, takeaways, we'll be sharing those with you as it may impact your requests. So we'll let you know what comes out of those meetings, but that's probably happening here this week and potentially next week as well. I wanted to reprise quickly a presentation that Alex gave at our last TAC meeting. So for those of you who sit on TAC, you've already seen this, and I'm going to do a very short version of it, but I want to make all of you who sit on this task force aware of this new funding program that we are rolling out. We will be doing a 2026 call for projects for safety projects specifically. As many of you are aware, most of the funding within our long-range plan, that 2050 MTP, is assigned to specific projects with specific limits. However, federal regulations do allow us to box certain funds that we can deliver projects through our PPL. And so in our 2050 MTP, there are 3 types of boxed funds that we have. There are safe routes to school or school mobility box of funds that we use primarily as contingency funds in case one of the safe routes to school projects that have already been partially funded as an overrun. That's that box. Then there's a second set of box funds for also safety projects, but these safety projects on the state highway system. So some of those goes with projects that we'll be talking about a little bit more in the spring. After we get through the current round of meetings related to the resurfacing program that FDOT does. So that's more to come. But what I wanted to sort of tease right now is the other box that we have, and that's for some off-state highway system projects or projects that will be delivering that are on the high injury networks. For those who are not familiar with box funds, just sort of generally to give you a feel, some of the things that we've used box funds on in the past include our stakeholder timing program that we've been doing for many years. That's a box fund program where we go out each year and ask do sort of our call for projects for that program. And we've also used boxes in the past to deliver some of our sidewalk gap projects as well. So a little bit more about this new high injury network box funds. Like I said, we'll be doing an official call in January, and beyond the presentation I'm going to give now, if you want sort of a deeper dive, you can go back and take a look at our last TAC meeting. Interested, I can see the timestamp. You don't want to watch the whole meeting for where that happens. We will also have an informational webinar or meeting, short video, in January at some point. So stay tuned for that. But the purpose of this box is really to deliver the projects that were identified on the high injury networks and that are reflected in the adopted safety action plans throughout the region. So who will be able to apply includes any of our local partners that are LAP funded. These are federal funds and has all the requirements and conditions associated with federal funds. And so if you're planning to submit a project, you will have to get LAP funded to deliver it. At this point, I do believe in District 5, we're doing only project specific LAP funding, and that can take some time. So if you have questions about that process, you can feel free to reach out to us or even to our LAP folks at Better District 5 will have better answers for you. But we're happy to help you as well. As I said, the projects that will be eligible for these funds included those that are in either regional or one of the local safety action plans, and they must be on functionally classified roads. If you are wondering if the project that you have in mind is eligible, you can look in Appendix I of the 2050 MTP that includes the full list of projects that came from the Vision Zero Safety Action Plans. And those are everything that's on that list is for this program. We will be funding projects for design instruction only. So if there are environmental or right-of-way fees that will be needed for the projects. Those would be funded by the agency or some other funds. And then in terms of additional requirements, the project must be consistent with your comprehensive plan. They don't need to be specifically spelled out, but must be consistent with it. And again, and in one of the safety action plans, go restriction. As I noted on the last slide, the projects that are eligible are all within Appendix I or the MGP. They must be located within our urban area boundary, and they must be functionally classified. And then again, to deliver the projects, you must be certified. We are putting together now an ESRI Survey 123 form that we'll be using as the sort of application intake for projects that can be funded through these box funds. And it'll be pretty similar. There'll be some additional things that we're requesting, but it'll be pretty similar to some of the applications that are submitted for FDOT's intake form. The intent is that once projects sort of make it through this process, if they are approved for funding through this process, they would go directly into the city and be eligible to go into intake. So our intent is to get all of the information that you're going to be asked by FDOT at some point anyway. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we have the informational session at the top of next year. But for those of you that have done an intake form before, that's part of the information that you need to have ready to complete this application. And then some of that additional information that I mentioned previously are some of the elements that we'll be using just to sort of have a comparative evaluation of all of the projects that are submitted to be a part of this program. At the TAC meeting, there was a subset of folks that did volunteer themselves. Thank you if you're one of the ones that volunteered and you're on this call for doing that. But we'll have a working group that's going to be working through the full list of applications that we get. We will be collecting the information that's shown on this slide to provide them with that comparative evaluation, but we're really going to be leaving it in the hands of sort of TAC and that working group specifically to help to identify what the top performing applications are and to decide which ones are going to be funded first and so on. And then these are some key dates to know. And December 5th, we'll have that first or around there, have that designated working group to talk through these box funds. We'll be meeting at some point within that time range. And then we'll come back at the beginning of the year sometime to have that informational webinar and have more information and then get to some of the other dates that sort of rolls through. All of this will be available in the slides that we'll send out after this for those who want to get those few dates, your calendars. Everything for the box fund, but I'm going to come back a little bit later and have to answer questions, or you can drop them in the chat. Once I'm done speaking, I'll check the chat. Happy to answer questions as they come in. Another opportunity that I wanted to note is about e-bike education. If you are anything like us, you are hearing a lot from your electeds, probably those that live in your communities, about e-bikes, e-bike mobility in general, and some safety issues that we are having. Well, the ABEA has created an e-bike course that's a sort of self-paced course that teens or others can take each module, and then there's some sort of questions at the end. It's a good course, so we're planning to put some funding behind it and make it available to schools throughout the region. A little bit about the course. Like I mentioned, there are a number of modules. There's one that's specifically about getting to know what an e-bike is and learning the equipment. Then there are modules on driving the e-bike, avoiding crashes, and just general being safer on the e-bike. Information is available there. We will be reaching out to our MAC committee as well as our board to get information about schools, principals, middle and high school principals that they may have contact information for. If any of you have contact information that you can share, that is very helpful as well. I know that we have representation from LCPS. Thank you just for joining us. We'll be reaching out to you as well as the other two school systems here in the region to share this opportunity and hopefully to get lots of schools to sign up for it. We're in the process now of working with one of our GPC consultants to sort of formalize the process. In addition to making the course available, we will be doing our own sort of internal benchmarking for students that take it before and after the course, just to get some information about demographics, get a better understanding of the knowledge base before and then after taking the course. And you're doing sort of a qualitative assessment of the course itself. And we will be reporting out on what we learned from that. Our intent is to make this available this school year. So we're working to get some of the sort of background stuff that we need to get pulled together within the next couple of months. And there'll be more information about this once it's all formalized. But in the meantime, if you do have any contacts within the school system or with specific schools, please do feel free to reach out to myself or Mike. We're the ones sort of taking the lead on this so that we can reach out to the schools individually. That'd be very helpful. All right, and then just a few quick updates on some ongoing projects. First, the e-micromobility white paper we've been working on throughout the summer. It's available for you to read and share with colleagues throughout the industry. I've included QR codes, not just to the white paper itself, which does provide sort of an overview of the policy landscape for e-micromobility within the state and beyond, some information on some local ordinances here in the state of Florida, information about sales and ridership trends. And then there are some recommendations for policy, design, educational best practices that I think all of us as practitioners can consider. And those of you who work for local governments that may be thinking about either adopting an ordinance or just trying to figure out how to support these devices more safely. Hopefully there's some information for you in there that will be helpful. For those who may not have time to read the white paper, we also did our last safety speaker webinar focused specifically on e-micromobility, safety, and the first presentation that was a part of that speaker series webinar provides a summary of the white paper. So there's QR codes as well. Another white paper that we're in the process of right now, this one has not been released yet, is focused on emergency response and specifically how we can balance our speed management needs within the region with not negatively impacting emergency response times. So we had an initial roundtable at the end of last month with a pretty good representation from around the region, with engineers and planners from around the region, as well as fire safety officials that were able to join us and provide some of their point of view. Got a lot of great information from that roundtable. And now our consultant that's helping us with this white paper is busy working on pulling together the findings from that roundtable, as well as a literature review that they've completed. They'll be putting out a draft, specifically sharing it with some of the agencies that joined us for that initial roundtable, and then we'll be having a second stakeholder roundtable sometime in the winter or the spring. Those invitations will go out to sort of our full list. So if you would like to participate in that second roundtable, even if you didn't in the first, you're absolutely more than welcome. You can also reach out to me to make sure that we will repeat it once we circle back for that second roundtable. And then we're also in the midst right now of doing a before and after evaluation methodology. The intent of that is to have methodology that we can sort of all use as a region to have a starting place for conducting those before and after evaluations of safety projects. So we had a roundtable for that task at the end of September. Thanks again to all of you who were able to join us for that. We got some good information about how we're all approaching before and after evaluations now, how we're correcting for missing data, how we're making assumptions about the timeframes that we use for the before versus the after timeframe, and all of that's going to be wrapped up along with a literature evaluation as part of what's going to feed the eventual methodology that we'll have ready for draft sometime in the spring. So more on that to come. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, who's going to talk a little bit about our crash dashboard.
Thank you, Laura, and good afternoon again. You're all familiar with the crash dashboard that we've had since the beginning of our Vision Zero effort. Well, we're just in an update of that, adding crash data from 2023 and 24. Previously, it went through 18 through 22. That's the primary improvement. We also did some just tweaking to it to make it function a little bit better based on feedback. Another key thing was integrating it into the Metro Plan Orlando site. We're no longer doing a standalone Vision Zero site. So now it echoes the MetroPlan Orlando website branding styles. We've also updated the online survey tool so that people can provide their information on a continuing basis. One thing that's yet to come to the dashboard and to the story maps is the separating out of the non-motorist modes. If we're still stuck with just pedestrian and bicycle, but a project that we've got starting up probably next month will be to update the pedestrian bicycle crash analysis tool process that allows us to separate out e-bikes, e-scooters, a variety of other types of devices. And so we'll be able to give you trend data and other data points on that sometime later next year. So I want to show you the dashboard itself. And as you can see, it looks very similar to what we had before. You can still select by your jurisdiction, by your severity, etc., and updates all of the elements on there. We've streamlined it a little bit, taken out a couple of things that were extraneous. We don't have any of the limited access facility crashes now because our focus as our regional plan is all the surface streets. Also, there's a prominent link up here at the top to the crash trend story map, which is again similar type of outline formatting as you saw in the prior year, just with updated data, and this too will get the update with the other non-motorized modes as that data comes in. So really pretty straightforward on that. We were fortunate in that we had a good system set up when we developed the first one, that it was very easy for us to do an update. So we can now do this on a routine basis so that constantly keeping track of what we're up to. So I'm going to hand off now to Adriana, who's going to talk about our report.
Thank you, Mike. Well, we're currently working on our annual report update. As part of this effort, we will be performing a data analysis and performance monitoring. So with the updated crash data that we have for our dashboard, we will be looking at key emerging trends and any shift in trends related to kill and serious injury crashes. So we will be able to identify any changes in a region, and we will be conducting the performance monitoring using the performance measures that are identified in the regional action plan. And then we will also be gathering information about safety projects that have been implemented or are in progress in a region. Any progress that has been made in the actions identified in the regional and local plans. And the idea is also to identify the effectiveness of non-engineering countermeasures, such as education campaigns, any outreach activities that have been taking place in the past year or are underway. This is important because we will be able to identify and share lessons learned and recommendations for potential improvements, systemic improvements. And also the intent is for us to go back to our strategies and our actions in our action plan and identify any changes or any refinements that are needed to advance the region's Vision Zero goals. We will be, as part of this, we will be getting or sharing an executive summary around February 2026 This will be a PDF format, and this is intended to be available in our website. And we will also provide these to guide partners on the content and the structure of the annual reports and summaries that you will be working on for your own plans. We will be also developing a story map, again, around same time frame. This story map will be similar to the story map that Mike shared with you a moment ago. In this story map, the idea is to synthesize updated crash data, all the information about regional progress on actions and projects. Also share information about the performance monitoring findings and any non-engineering and engineering countermeasures, the effectiveness of those lessons learned. So this is going to be user-friendly, and the idea is for us to be able to update this story map every year. We will also be showcasing the effectiveness of projects and actions. We would like to highlight successes, identify any areas of improvement, and again, recommendations on refinement or modification to strategies. So basically for this, we will need your input. You probably received already an email survey, and we will be also scheduling some meetings to gather information about the ongoing or implemented safety projects in your related to your local action plan. We also want to identify what are those projects that have reached a tangible reduction in crashes, so we can highlight those projects. And a key item, our key opportunity that we want to identify here is the need for interjurisdictional collaboration. So any coordination needed with other jurisdictions or FDOT, that's what we want to identify, and also identify how we can collaborate on these opportunities. And also update or identify status and performance measures, timelines for those actions in your local action plans. Safe Streets for All, the plan is eligible for any upcoming grant opportunities if the plan identifies not only the actions, but also performance measures and timeline associated with the specific projects or actions. So that's a key step in this effort. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sidian to give us an update on this platform.
Excellent. Thank you, Adriana. For those that missed the beginning of the call, my name is Jonah McKay. I'm a customer success manager here at Cidian, lead a lot of our onboarding and implementation efforts, and excited to kind of give folks an overview of the Cidian platform and some of the new tools that are going to be available to the MPO and to partners as you all work to improve safety across the region. If you have any questions throughout the next little bit, feel free to put those in the chat. I'll also have a little bit of time for Q&A, but want to make sure that we answer any of those as they come up. And feel free to shoot us a note as well if there's anything that you want to talk about outside of this call. So earlier this year, MPO went forward and moved forward with the acquisition of Cidian's Crash platform. This is a cutting-edge analytics and visualization platform that's designed to put traffic crash data management, analysis, reporting tools all in one central platform to improve accuracy, efficiency, timeliness of your all's analysis and work. Our goal is to improve the quality of the data, make existing processes that much more simple, speed up timelines, improve coordination, and really just expand the analytical capacity for the region. So from a project development standpoint, we're in the process of developing the environment for you all. We've received access to all the critical data sets that we need and anticipate launch in early 2026, likely in January. After kind of an initial launch and training, we're going to work with you to make sure that the platform stays up to date as your program and as your work continues to grow and change. We want to make sure that we're growing alongside you and being a good partner, not only for today's safety landscape, but tomorrow's as well. Goal of the Crash platform is to accelerate safety analysis, whether that's large or that's small reporting or individual investigation, to help you hit your targets faster, cut costs in the process, scale some of your impact, and really make this a more efficient and effective process than some of the more traditional manual ways of doing this kind of work. This is things like taking kind of traditional workflows within the traffic safety analysis world, things like refining crash data, right, or identifying your top intersections, top segments across the region, creating collision diagrams, and then accelerating your path to things like cost-benefit analysis, before and after reporting, high-level analysis on safety performance across the region, and then help you generate some of those reports, generate some of that program that's really going to move the needle and improving safety. This platform is designed to be really a complete traffic safety information center. It's a digital twin that includes crash data, analytical tools, reporting within one specific environment, using some AI, using some advanced data analytics to help you meet your goals, and again, expedite some of those workflows, and using a lot of those kind of advanced data analytics, AI, deep refinement to ingest, refine, audit crash data, improve that initial data set for you all to maximize the reporting and analysis you're going to be able to do. And once we have that really excellent kind of refined crash data set, we're going to start to layer on things like dynamic dashboards, querying tools, reporting tools that are going to help you do deep level analysis, investigation, and start to understand patterns and trends across the region, and hopefully move from a reactive place to that much more kind of proactive point for safety studies. From a functionality perspective, these are all things that you should expect to see within the tool. We start off with automated crash data refinement. We use that really high quality crash data and overlay that on an in-depth 3D kind of digital twin crash map, layer on things like equity analysis and heat maps and local context overlays, things like that. Give you access to robust querying tools so you can go back, dive into the data in a really nuanced and granular way. Give you access to things like geometric statistical analysis, a number of pre-built dashboards for you all to kind of leverage to keep track of key areas, things like benchmarking towards zero deaths, right? Focusing on the most severe outcomes for crashes, HSIP planning, SHSP planning, vulnerable road user focus, putting those right at your fingertips. Other tools include a before and after studies tool, collision diagramming tool, as well as things like automated fact sheets and even tools to help you kind of continue to review crashes and improve that underlying data set that you will leverage every day to improve safety. What's really great about the platform is that we're pulling all of your data into it, right? This is stuff that you are used to, just presented sometimes in a different way, in a more accessible way. We're pulling all crash data from 2018 to the present, and that's going to continue to stay up to date, right? As new crashes come through and continue to occur, those will be added to the system. So it remains up to date, remains current with the situation on the ground, pulling in different jurisdictional data layers and local context data layers to allow you to really focus on areas of concern, do in-depth reporting on specific, jurisdictional levels, things like, each of the cities and counties, commissioner districts, as well as bringing in some of those kind of what we call local context layers that allow you to get really granular for crashes that are occurring near specific points of interest, right? Show me where all my schools are, and now show me all the crashes within half a mile of a school, things like that. I'm going to share my screen here, and I can go through kind of a quick demonstration of a kind of a sample sandbox environment that we have, but I think this is going to be kind of a good overview to what some of the capabilities of this platform are, and some of the tools that this team is going to have access to in the near future. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Looks good, Jonah.
Yep. Excellent. Perfect. So again, this is just a sample environment, but it helps to illustrate kind of the art of the possible, some of the tools and functionality that you all are going to get access to, again, in the very near future. This is just Washington, D.C., but you can imagine how this would expand out to be kind of the entire NPO, the entire region. As I start to zoom in, you're going to start to see some of the quality crash data that we have within the platform itself. We're going through, we're refining to improve location, place crashes in the proper, proper side of the road, and the proper quadrants of intersections, so you can start to do really in-depth analysis and get a clear picture of what might be going on. For each of these dots, each of these is a individual crash. We'll see more kind of load in as we zoom in. Right now, I'm looking at kind of a Cavco severity focus, but if we want to simplify that, we can. Each red dot is going to be a fatal crash. Each yellow dot is a crash that resulted in an injury, and those blue dots are those PDO crashes as well. I can start to zoom in, and you can start to see where crashes are maybe occurring within real streets. If we want to get a little bit more granular, a little bit more nuance, I can turn on kind of a satellite view. We can start to see, right, crashes are popping into correct lanes, within the proper quadrants of an intersection, what have you. If I click on any of these dots, I'm given a high-level overview of what happened in this crash, right? I can see that this is a side swipe crash, both vehicles moving in the same direction back in January of 2020. Quickly get an understanding of what the weather was. Was someone speeding? Was this a DUI? So high-level information like that. If I want to go a little bit further, all I have to do is click this full report button, and I'm instantly taken to that crash's specific profile page. These are really exciting. Every intersection, every segment, every crash within this platform is going to have its own profile page. What that means is that I can share this link with anybody else who has access to your environment, and they'd be brought right to this specific page. So no more, hunting down the same crash. You can just send this link, and now you're looking at the same data. Hoping to really boost some of that collaboration there. You can see we have high-level information here. If I want to go a little bit deeper, I have access to in-depth information about this crash. We can start to see a couple of places where maybe the data has been refined and improved as a result of kind of Citian's algorithms. We go through, we process the narratives to identify, are there any contradictions, right, within the crash information, within the crash data itself, help you get to the bottom of what actually occurred and have the critical details in front of you as you're making decisions. Also information, right, on persons involved, information on vehicles involved, and all this stuff is usable later on within our query functionality, so you can get really granular with your queries without having to, know how to do code in SQL or something like that. It's all natural language search based. I'll go back to kind of the main map. If I zoom out a little bit, you can start to see, right, all this data existing in one place, this digital twin. I can start to pivot this in a couple directions if I want some more interesting, screenshots or something like that. Maybe I'm really interested in what was the collision type for all these crashes. If I switch this up here, see weather, there we go. One more, there we go. Cavco severity. So for Cavco severity here, I can start to get a better understanding of, right, where are my more serious crashes stacked up? Where are those higher levels of injury occurring? Are there any hotspots for those types of crashes? I can also go over here and start to filter this data. Maybe I'm specifically interested in DUI crashes. If I come over here and click yes and apply that filter, suddenly I can see where only those DUI crashes were, so I can do a little bit more investigation. I'll reset these filters here. We have a number of other kind of layers that we can start to pull in. One of the nice parts of this platform is it allows really easy access to kind of supporting data sets that you might be using within your safety work. We talked a little bit earlier about some of that kind of jurisdictional data before. I'll show you kind of how that starts to work here. I'll turn on ANCs and let that load in. ANCs in DC, it's essentially like a neighborhood level jurisdiction, you know, neighborhood commissions, that sort of a thing. You can see that all these are going to populate on the map. And if I click on this ANC 2B right here in DuPont Circle, you'll see that we're going to get high-level summary information of all the crashes that are occurring within that specific boundary, right? So you can start to see some of the detailed statistics and analysis we're going to be able to get, right? Someone calls you and asks for, you know, an understanding of kind of relative, you know, crashes or safety within their region. You can get those numbers and pull those really easily. I'm going to turn those off for now. You can also do some pretty in-depth exploration using things like maybe heat maps. Let that load in. You can tweak these. Right, so right now we're just looking at crash count, getting an understanding of where some of those hotspots are across the region. I can turn this up or down depending on my zoom level. And what's really cool is I can start to add additional kind of variables into this. For example, maybe I'm interested in understanding crash patterns over time. We have this temporal analysis feature where I can, you know, choose, do I want to look at hour of the day of the week, month, you know, month of the year, or year-over-year trends. But I'll click play here, tweak this up just a little bit. You can start to see, right, how do crash patterns change across my jurisdiction over time, right? You know, there are places where we need to, you know, at certain hours of the day, deploy enforcement assets so we can, you know, proactively address crashes that we know are going to happen at certain times of day in certain places. Let me turn that off. Can also turn on, and you know, we know how important equity data is in the analysis and the work that you're doing. Maybe I want to overlay demographic data with crashes. I can turn on what we call our fingerprint tool and really quickly get a sense of, you know, where certain populations that might be traditionally disadvantaged when it comes to transportation access, you know, live across the region. So we can start to highlight different demographic variables and explore that alongside crash data as well. The final thing that'll show in this map before we dive quickly into kind of our query tool is some of these kind of local context overlays. You know, a lot of the work that you're doing when it comes to safety is in context, right? I'm interested in safety within school zones. I'm interested in vulnerable road user safety in high traffic pedestrian areas, right? We can start to bring some of these things in, and we'll have a number of different layers included that allow you to start to get an understanding of, right, where are all my schools? So I can start to do an in-depth investigation for safety in that context, right? For example, here is this, you know, Gonzaga College High School. What's going on there? Maybe I'm getting some complaints or we're investigating safety issues there. Let's look at nearby crashes and pull all the crashes that occurred, you know, within, let's say, a quarter mile of this specific location. And very quickly, I can get a sense of, right, what types of crashes are occurring, when are those crashes occurring, what are those kind of high-level collision types, you know, all the different conditions that you need to start to do really effective analysis and develop countermeasures and approaches for addressing safety concerns at really any location across the region. I'm going to exit out of this for now. So that's a really high-level overview of kind of this crash map. This tool is really designed for some of that in-depth, high-level investigation, looking for patterns in different data sets that you might have. But oftentimes you're coming with a very specific question in mind. right? I'm interested in specific crashes that meet a number of criteria that happen in certain locations, that occurred to specific individuals. For some of that work, we'd use something like our custom query tool that allows you to go really in depth and start to investigate crashes that meet some of those priority topics. For example, and there's a number of different filters here. We won't go through all of them, but maybe we want to specifically look for cyclist-involved crashes. That maybe occurred within a specific location. So we'll look within specifically a couple of different wards. And very quickly, you can see that we've added a number of different filters, doing a couple of kind of cross-factor, investigation here. And just like that, a couple of seconds later, I now have a high-level understanding, right, of all the different crashes that involve cyclists within this one part, or these few parts of the cities. And I have the detailed stats and charts and figures I need to start to investigate what those trends and patterns might be, report on progress over time, what have you. And then what's nice is that all these charts, I just click up here, I can download this, change the player under the colors, but download this as a PNG that's ready to be inserted into a presentation, into a report, what have you, saving some of that time that you might be spending messing around with pivot tables or trying to get things to format correctly in an Excel or something like that. The final thing that I'll show today is just some of the dashboards that we'll have built out for the team. All this will get customized kind of and relabeled to match your branding, match your language, those sorts of things. But we've built out, we'll have built out a number of these, like a Vision Zero dashboard is a simple one. One that we find that a lot of users spend a lot of time on is our HSIP dashboard. Really what this does is it identifies top segments, top intersections across your jurisdiction. You can start to add some filters there. So maybe I'm interested in, we'll go back to the wards we were looking at earlier. What are my top intersections over the last 5 years within wards 1, 2, and 3? I can just add that filter here. I'm going to grab and rank each of these intersections. And once this loads, I'll be able to really quickly get an understanding, right, of what those top locations are, right? Ranked by a number of different categories. I can see here that this 4th Street Northwest and I-395 New York Avenue, tied for first when it comes to number of crashes. We have some of the most severe crashes occurring here, and it's also the most crashes occurring right at this location. So obviously a high priority, maybe to target for some safety treatments. I click on this row, I'll scroll up. It's going to bring us right to that intersection. And if I want to get more information, I can. I'll just click on this. And now we're going to be brought to this intersections profile page where I can do things like get automated countermeasure recommendations or perform a before and after study if maybe we have implemented some treatments to try and address safety concerns at this location. So this is really just a taste of the tool. We'll be doing kind of a full rollout, training, all that a little bit later this year and next. But hopefully this gives you a good understanding of some of the powerful tools that the team is going to have access to perform safety analysis work in the very near future. I will stop sharing here. And then if the group has any questions, invite you to come off mute. We could probably have about 3 or 4 minutes to go through that. Otherwise, feel free to drop questions in the chat, and we can answer those over the course of the rest of the presentation. Otherwise, I'll drop my email in here, and you can send those to me individually as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Jonah. Not seeing any any questions coming through either in the chat or in the Q&A. But as always, folks, anytime you want to post something, we can always come back to that at the end of the meeting. So I want to hand off now to Yasser Fala with UCF. He's going to be giving us a presentation on their AI-powered efforts for safety.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mike. Right, so should I get started? I think I can control the screen, right? Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Yasser Fala. I'm a professor at the University of Central Florida and also co-founder of a local tech company that's involved in this work as well. So just to give you a little bit of background information on what we're presenting here. I've been basically involved in pedestrian safety and crash warning kind of systems since almost 2008, and working on different aspects of it, especially as it comes to kind of crash avoidance, crash detection, and so on. So the platform that we are talking about today is what we call a MetaCity platform that basically generates a live digital twin, and then it could be used for all sorts of applications that pertains to the goals of Vision Zero. Okay. All right, so let me move on. All right, so the proposition that we have here is to basically take data that we have from, for example, cameras and other sensors on the roadside and process them through some AI algorithms and mechanisms that we have developed here in Orlando, I should say, for the purpose of creating what we call live digital twins. So what that means is you're basically taking camera data, processing it through what we call cooperative AI perception and localization technology, which then generates trajectories of the objects that are within the view of these cameras. So basically, instead of operators and data analyzers looking at videos, you'll be looking at trajectories of objects that are on the road, like people, bikes, vehicles, and so on, in a digital form. Now, what is the advantage of this? When you have everything in digital form and in map form, you could actually build a lot of applications on top of it. So compared to actually what was just being described, or the crash dashboard, this one becomes live, meaning that the data here now is not, you could basically have historical data in it, but you could collect data as it happens and during a duration of time that you might be interested in. Out of that, you could generate alerts, analytics, or even control in an active form. Or if you're just doing post-processing, you could analyze data that is available at 100 millisecond resolution for individual items that are on the road. Now, to give you an example of what would be the use of this, you could look at, for example, the trajectory of a vehicle at an intersection, trajectory of a bike, and how they actually might have come near each other to create a collision. So this would actually be the type of data that usually you will not see in any report, right? Because these would be, for example, near crash scenarios. And for you to detect this, either somebody should have seen it, or somebody should watch the videos and detect it, or the AI system that we have created actually goes through this, produces all the data that's needed for this, and then you could use the dashboard to detect these sort of incidents. Now, what you basically will be provided with is going to be a dynamic map of objects and their trajectories in time, in the form of these GPS kind of locations in space and time, as well as the analysis and detections of incidents and trends too. So to show this in action, this is actually just a single camera view here that is, I think, somewhere in Colorado. And on the right side here, you see the projection of these detections in what we call live digital twin form. So what this is, let me see if I can actually play that on the screen. Yeah. So you would basically have all these vehicles detected and projected on the map. You could see their speed, their location, where they were, individual lanes, lane occupancy, all of that. And basically, this is going to now allow you to have information down to lane level, down to millisecond level of, what is happening in the road. So this information, of course, you could log all of it and then analyze it for many different purposes, including, use cases such as, let me actually go to the next slide, such as, detecting near misses. And with near misses, you would have logs of locations, scenarios that actually led to that, trajectories of the objects that were involved in there. In addition to, for example, you could detect elevated speed in a particular part of road. So you maybe you're looking at a section of the highway or on a roadway somewhere inside the city, and you see that one lane you're always seeing elevated speed compared to the others. So speeds of each lane down to the lane level, you could collect that. You could have it during different times of day, different times of even within an hour, you could go down to second level and get that information. Other applications and use cases that you could get from this system include you could detect wrong way driving, and also the logs and the trajectories that kind of led to that. And you can kind of figure that out, where in your whole network of roads, wherever the camera exists, of course, you're actually seeing this sort of incidents. Congestion level would be an easy thing to kind of derive out of this digital twin. Lane blockings, detecting stalled vehicles. There, in addition to individual kind of occurrences, you could have the trends. You could figure out where they happen and so on. Crashes as well. So in addition to the historic data that you would basically be seeing with the crash dashboard, for example, here you could see specifically what led to the crash in terms of trajectories, where they're happening, and what was the scenario there. So in addition, if there are crashes that are not reported, that you would not see in your system, you would be able to detect them here and actually report those if they are within the view of any of your traffic cameras. Now, these are all things that you could kind of detect in real time or through post-processing. In addition to if you were interested in seeing a particular lane usage, what is the frequency of a particular lane being used or actually being empty. So, for example, this is to identify that there's a change in traffic pattern, or you're doing some traffic control changes, and you want to know what is the impact of that on particular lane usage, and what are the VRU types, for example, that are using it. What's the heat map of this usage? All of that you could actually get through this platform, again down to millisecond level. Now, this is particularly useful for either active systems that would allow you to detect incidents and report them, or if you want to do an analysis of how your roadways are basically working, whether it's safety questions, whether it's occupancy and efficiency of it. All of that you could basically derive out of the digital twin. In addition to, for example, you could do before and after analysis. Let's say you did some traffic control change somewhere, some traffic signal timing you have changed, and you want to know what is the impact of that on traffic. You could kind of derive it out of this system, basically by looking at, for example, lane usage, congestion level before and after the change that has happened on the roadside. And this could apply to any change that you make. For example, if there's an addition of a lane, there's a lane blocking, and so on. All of it you could just derive out of this. Now, actually, what you see on the screen here, these are projections of individual vehicles onto lanes at the moment that it was happening. And let me actually see if I can show that in the next slide. So if you could actually click on this should open in the browser. So this is the MetaCity platform actually in action. So this one is just one example of how that live digital twin actually looks like. So you can kind of see that on the side you will get alerts, but you could choose what you're seeing. This one, I think, is somewhere in Kansas, if I'm not mistaken. You could go down to where the cameras exist. You see, you click on the camera icon, you can see what is actually happening right now. In addition to everything being logged, you can see everything live. And then next, I think, digital twin is clicked. You can see individual vehicles that are actually moving at the moment, alive, in those particular lanes. And the positions, the GPS location, everything is actually real and real time. So we can kind of go back to the presentation. Yeah, so basically the platform kind of allows you to see everything, not only like in terms of trends and heat maps and all of that, but also live if that is an application within your system. Okay, now, like I said, monitoring traffic and reporting, studying, those are some applications, but you could also use the system for active safety. What you actually see on the screen here are the demonstrations that we did. I think this was like two years ago, that, using a couple of cameras at an intersection. This is at UCF Business Incubator. We were detecting pedestrians, detecting vehicles, analyzing whether they are on a collision path, and then sending out alerts to, in this case, it was a phone app within the vehicle, but you could have like a flasher on the roadside and, many other active safety devices that you could kind of enable using this system. And if you don't want to actually do active safety systems, again, all of the data is available and can be logged for passive safety analysis, afterwards. Now, what actually makes this platform different is that it provides high rate trajectory and position logs for you. So, and all of this is basically by processing camera feeds or other sensor feeds that are available and basically generating these, trajectories. Now, like I said, you could process them in real time, or if, that is not, what you're operating on, you could post-process them for assessment of situations. And basically this would give you, I would say, if you just let the system run, this is going to give you terabytes of trajectory data that would, in my view, be priceless. Now, this is going to give you individual object behavior, individual vehicle or, pedestrian or VRU behavior, down to from that level all the way to heat maps and macro level trends that you might see, on the roadside. An important thing here is that this is fully privacy preserving. So what we mean here is that the system actually gives you metadata of the logs of everything that is happening. So all you have is basically object IDs. And if you wanted to actually share that data with anyone, you don't have to share your video data because there's so many like privacy concerns and different laws and this and that you'll run into. But this is going to be just metadata of movement of objects that you could either project into 2D or 3D digital twin, or just analyze it using Excel sheets. So basically, this platform allows you to very flexibly to work with your data without concern for privacy. So just to give you a little bit of background, where this comes from, why this is useful and how it's kind of different. We actually demonstrated the first use of this method of mapping and detecting safety incidents. This was in 2008 ITS World Congress with pedestrian safety, vehicle to pedestrian, basically crash scenarios. And then later on, like almost 10 years after, or 7 years after, it was with Qualcomm and Hyundai Kia. We demonstrated, the same concept until, we perfected it. And then a few years ago, actually, out of UCF, one of our tech companies took this concept. They developed this platform. It's actually been used for a pilot of parking application in Winter Park. And the company is actually in discussion with Central Florida Expressway for deployment. There are some demonstrations that I can show you, if interested. That is with CFX cameras, as well as in Oshawa, Ontario, and globally at several other locations. Now, some of the work here actually kind of was borrowed from the work that we did on vehicle to everything kind of communication, and the standards that basically eventually adopted our algorithms for the by the Automotive Society of Automotive Engineers in 2945 and 3161. This is for DSRC and CV2X, connected vehicle technology. So some of the solutions that kind of got developed are now part of those standards and will eventually be in all your vehicles, within the next few years. Now, what makes this actually easy to sorry, let me just go back to it. What makes it easy or simple to deploy is the fact that all we need is access to cameras, to network cameras. And if you don't have cameras, any $100 IP camera would actually just do fine. So with the deployments that I just mentioned, what we did, we only got the access, basically URL of the cameras. It was connected to our servers, to our AI servers. We process all of that data, and then we provide basically a report on that data in the form of the live trajectories, in addition to incident detections and events through a user interface. So this deployment of this is almost, requires no hardware installation if you already have, cameras out there, which I believe, most of the counties and, organizations here do. And then, what you would get in return would be logs of trajectories, live reports if that's, of interest, and then heat maps, trends, and spatial temporal distribution of events, and so on. Now, in terms of what could actually a possible deployment, what would be some of the metrics that we would report? We could demonstrate the trajectory accuracy, through any pilot program that you might be interested in. Incident report accuracy could also be provided. We could also work with you and collect data for the purpose of, creating a benchmark for these sort of things. And then, in addition to metrics for testing the system, we could report, in addition to, logs of trajectories and so on, we could report, for example, a heat map of time to crash, which basically tells you what are the locations on the road down to feet level that are basically prone to accidents. So this way, the report on safety wouldn't be like that, this intersection on this leg, there's an issue, but it would be something like, at this curbside, near this lane, close to the crosswalk, that's a danger zone. So it would be basically down to that level. So basically other things that could actually be reported here is if there is like an alert system that is monitored by the client, we could report on, if there are changes or what is the response time to an alert, if that is actually of interest to a client. Now, the deployment for this would be actually very simple. Cloud-based deployment would be kind of the simplest, meaning that all we do is we get video streams from you and everything is processed in either our local offices here in Orlando, or if you're interested like in the cloud, it can go to any platform that some of our clients are interested in, for example, Google Cloud being their choice, or Amazon and so on. We could process there. And then in return, we would basically give you a web app like the one that I just showed. And it would basically be a dashboard for you to see everything. Now, some of the organizations that we worked with, they did not really like their video streams to go out of their system for many reasons, including privacy and regulations that they have. So what we do is we just take our server and put it at your location. So basically what happens is usually the server is put at your location, your IT guys would scan it, and then we connect it. It takes us a week or so to configure everything, and then the system can run there, and you'll have access to all the metadata through the dashboard. So again, you have both options for deployment if you're particularly concerned about privacy and camera access, and then this allows you to just own data and just can be comfortable with that. So what we kind of are proposing is we're interested in pilot projects here, especially within our locality here in Central Florida. And that is, we could kind of, we foresee a pilot project to basically take somewhere between 3 to, as long as you want, basically 3 months to maybe 6 months or 12. Usually within the first 2 months, we set up everything. We do testing, we fine-tune the AI algorithms and all of that. We define all the zones that you might be interested in. Then at month 3, we'll show you what's been collected initially so that you can choose what are the sort of information that you're interested in. And then we'll start logging that kind of information in months 4, 5, 6, and so on. So like I said, this is a simple system, very easy to deploy and would be kind of low cost. And here it's basically offered through, I'm representing UCF and, the local company here in Orlando that, we can kind of do this for you here in Central Florida. So if there are any, questions and if there's any interest, I'll be happy to take the questions or, talk offline. Great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Yasser. Seeing a lot of potential for this. Yes. All right. Not seeing any question, and in the interest of time, we want to give Osceola County time to talk about their project. So I'm going to quickly hand over to Laura Campos and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll try to keep this short and sweet for everyone. But my name is Laura Campos, as I introduced myself. I have been with a project manager for Osceola County for more or less 4 years. I'm very grateful, and I enjoy all the projects that I work on, and one of them is the Michigan Avenue Safety Improvements projects. Of course, I'd like to thank MetroPlan and Osceola County for giving me the opportunity to present to you this amazing project. So just a quick, let me see, oh, there you go. It's a quick rundown of all the topics that we'll talk today. We'll do a project overview and the purpose, talk about the proposed improvements, and a brief overview of the project schedule. So in 2019, MetroPlan Orlando performed a study which determined that 23 serious bicyclist and pedestrian crashes occurred between US 192 and Donegan Avenue between 2011 and 2017. In 2024, MetroPlan conducted a separate study which determined that the project corridor was in the high injury network for Osceola County. All these safety improvements implemented within this project are proposed to enhance safety and operation for all modes of transportation. So Michigan Avenue is a 4-lane road with many homes, neighborhoods, and businesses along the corridor. This project includes making safety improvements enhancement at 6 intersections along Michigan Avenue between US 192 and Osceola Parkway. Those intersections are shown in the image on the screen circled in blue and labeled 1 through 6. Intersection 1 is at the left of the screen at US 192, 2 is at Boulder Drive, 3 at Mill Slough Road, 4 is at East Donegan Avenue, 5 at East Carroll Street, and 6 is towards the right at Garden Street. This project is completed in partnership with the federal government, FDOT, and Osceola County. Osceola County also completed an in-person and virtual public meeting, which the in-person was conducted on March 25th of 2025 at the Kissimmee Civic Center in Kissimmee, Florida. Further along this presentation, I will be discussing what actions occurred after the public meeting, which modified a portion of the design of the project. So we will start covering the improvements from the southern end of the project corridor and at the end of the northern end. The first intersection to cover is the US 192 intersection, which the safety improvements at this intersection include separating the shared curb ramps into individual curb ramps and installing new pedestrian detectors, reconstructing the sidewalk and mill and resurface areas where the roadway, pedestrian ramps, and pavement markings are being modified. Osceola County is in constant coordination with FDOT to minimize overlapping work where possible, as FDOT has a milling and resurfacing project along US 192, which they are resurfacing the intersection with striping work as well. So in the original design, the improvements included extending the concrete separator in the median at the north leg of the intersection. The top of the screen illustrates the existing conditions, while the bottom of the screen reflects proposed conditions. This location was modified after the public meeting, which I will discuss further in the presentation. At Boulder Drive, the proposed safety improvements include installing a new mid-block crosswalk with a pedestrian-activated pedestrian hybrid beacon, or a PHB. Safety improvements will also include installing curb ramps and a pedestrian refuge in the median. There will also be milling and resurfacing where the roadway, pedestrian ramps, and pavement markings will be modified. The safety improvements at the Mill Slough intersection will separate the shared curb ramps into individual curb ramps, will install a new pedestrian detectors, reconstruct the sidewalk, and mill and resurface areas that will be modified. The safety improvements at the East Donegan Avenue intersection will separate the shared curb ramp into individual curb ramps, install new pedestrian detectors, reconstruct the sidewalk, and mill and resurface roadway areas that will be modified. Modification also include installing a new crosswalk and pedestrian signal on the northern leg of the intersection. Yep. So East Carroll Street. So the safety improvements at the East Carroll Street at this intersection also include removing the eastbound free flow right turn lane at East Carroll Street intersection at the south and the southbound merge lane south of the intersection. The top of the screen, let me share, go to the next one. Yes. So the top of the screen is what is showing currently in existing conditions, and the bottom of the screen is after conditions and proposed conditions. At Garden Street, the proposed safety improvements include installing a new crosswalk at the north side of the intersection with a pedestrian activated PHB and a curb ramps. The existing crosswalk on the south side will be removed. So the information about PHBs was provided to the public so they can get a clear understanding of how PHBs operate, depending on if you're a driver or a pedestrian. This image explains in details what a driver and a pedestrian should expect while the PHB is operating and what each signal transition means. As stated previously, Osceola County conducted a public meeting in March of 2025, which we were able to document all the comments and findings from the public meeting and the public meeting summary. This report can be extracted from the project website, and overall the public provided positive feedback on the safety improvements, and it received media coverage, which as well provided positive feedback towards the improvements occurring along Michigan Avenue. So as a result from the public meeting, stakeholder feedback, and additional traffic data, Osceola County is proposing the following modifications to the original design, which include proposing a directional median towards the Kissimmee Square Plaza, located here. Kissimmee Square Plaza is right here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but it's towards the bottom of the screen. These modifications occur near the US 192 intersection, and the proposed concept accommodations for the southbound leg, left turn movements into Kissimmee Square Plaza, and U-turn movements for the Osceola Christian Prep School. The proposed improvements will still eliminate the left turn movements from Lehigh Street to Michigan Avenue, which is considered a safety enhancement from the existing conditions. This concept would provide a balance of safety operations and business access. This modification is also consistent with the recommendation from the Metro Plan Pedestrian Bicyclist Safety Plan, which proposes a directional median opening. So this slide illustrates the project schedule as it stands today, which shows that this project will have a fiscal year lap encumbrance and construction beginning as early as fall of 2027. This project is currently in the design phase, working towards a 90% plan submittal. So to stay informed about any project updates, you may scan the QR code or visit the project website as illustrated on this slide. The website will also have a project description, an illustration of all the improvements, and an updated project schedule and any important project documents as well. So thank you for your time. I have included all my contact information and the project QR code as well. I appreciate the time to explain this wonderful safety improvements enhancement project that Osceola County is proposing. And I look forward to assisting in making Osceola County safer. Thank you.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. That was fantastic. We appreciate you sharing that wonderful project with us. We always have a great time hearing about what our members are doing throughout the region. So thank you. And I will put a teaser out there. if anyone else has a project or initiative that they have underway or if they've wrapped up recently that they want to share at an upcoming task force meeting, please do feel free to reach out to myself or Mike or Adriana. If not, we will find you and ask you to come to another one. All right, so just a couple of quick slides so that we can wrap up. Thanks to those of you who have held tight for this long. First, just a teaser, our next Vision Zero Safety Speaker Series webinar will be December 16th. That one is going to focus on 20 is plenty, paradigm to go to a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, primarily on local or residential roads. So we'll have hopefully for 3 speakers again that will be talking about their experiences for those who either have implemented 20 is plenty within their locality or they're on the precipice of doing so. So we encourage you to join us if you're able. If you're not able, that will be available through our YouTube channel as always. And then if you want to catch up on any of the previous speaker series webinars, you can use the link that's shown on this slide. It'll take you to all of them. And then we want to start preparing a little bit for next year, for next 2026. So we've come up with 10 options for topics that we as a task force can think through together with the 4 meetings that we will have together next year. I'm going to go ahead and pop up a poll that you can respond to here. It will allow you to click as many as you want, but we're asking that you keep it to 4 topics. And if there's something that you would really like us to be talking through together that is not included on this list, please do feel free to either leave a note in the chat to take a look at that, or you can email us and make recommendations. We'll take all of that input into consideration as we are building the agendas for next year's task force meetings. But take a couple minutes. Now we'll be quiet so you can read. While people are voting, Tony, I see your comment in the chat. Thank you. I'll pass that on to Alex and we'll get back to you. I'll leave the poll up, but while that's up, actually, Mike, you want to jump in? Where people are probably going to have to drop soon. We'll have the slide up in a minute. I don't know if they'll let me do it while we're talking, but just to talk through our call for instructors for the middle school bike safety program. We are still looking for those instructors, and Mike, if you could weigh in just on who the right type of person is that would make a good instructor for that, that'd be great.
Right. Well, yeah, obviously it's going to be somebody who's comfortable and confident on a bike, because it's going to involve some very much an on-bike program. I mean, there'll be some classroom stuff as well. Hopefully somebody who's got the flexibility to be able to work on an after-school program. And if you have any ideas on audiences that I could get in front of, just to kind of give an overview, not just of the program, but of the need and the approach that we want to take with reaching kids with middle school kids with safety, that would be appreciated. So I'll be happy to go anywhere, anytime to talk to folks about cyclist education.
Thank you, Mike. Seems to be slowing down, but we still have a few responses rolling in, so I'm going to leave it up for 1 more minute. And I'll close it out. If I close it out and any one of you don't get to vote, please be sure, but just shoot me an email. We can take that into account as well. We're going through these results, and I will flash up the results soon. 15 seconds.
All right. I guess we could also just go ahead and put the call out for, do we have any members of the public who would like to comment in general on our efforts? You can use the raise hand function, which would be *9 on a phone, or the raised hand on the regular computer screen interface. So if anyone has a comment they'd like to make, let us know.
Every time I'm about to end poll, someone else votes. 5 more seconds. All right. Go ahead and call it. And here's the result. All right, so let's see, what is the topic? Incorporating safety into the development review process for one of our high schoolers. Developing safety-related policy and design guidance. Identifying system performance measures that align with Vision Zero goals, and then what's like tied for 4th right now at least is developing guidance on construction-related MOT requirements, right? And then collaborating on how to support people. Thank you all that took the time to vote. We will take this back and start building more programs. Again, if you have other thoughts on things that we should be focused on, you can always email us to take that into consideration when we're building these agendas. All right, I think. Also, anyone have any member comments before we close out? If so, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It was very good.
Anyone else? Yeah, we close this out.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and I'll see you next year at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Everybody, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Happy
Enjoy your
Thanksgiving.
holidays.
Thank you.